like to welcome all of you to week 1 of the World Civilization 106 class. I really enjoy teaching this. This is the first class I ever taught at Modesto Junior College, which I did in person at the time, and I basically turned this class into a world religion class, mainly because we cover so many different topics, and the world, and in a short period of time. And for many of you, you just have not been exposed to many things about the world. And so I kind of want to just help find a subject matter that I think that you could latch onto the most. Because no matter what, if you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, if you're a devout religious person of a particular faith, you're going to have an opinion on the topic. And because you're going to have an opinion, then you're going to be able to engage more with it. So this also leads me to really kind of want to explain what I'm doing and to try to make sure that this class works out for everybody. My class does not promote a particular religion, nor is it against a particular religion. And that's not what this class is set up for. This is not a theology class. We're not having, it's not a philosophy class. It is a history class. And so we're learning about different civilizations and the way that they developed, and different ideas that may have came out of these civilizations. So I want you to look at it in that way. So nothing's being crammed down your throat. You're not being asked to believe in anything. You're being guided how to understand many things. Understand, in other words, being an actually well-informed person about the world as it actually has developed, and the way that historians understand it. Now, I take this approach as a secular historian. Well, what does that mean? The secular world means that we do make a separation between, I'm not promoting religious history. Now, this becomes a little bit complicated, okay? If I talk about Greek mythology, and I use the term mythology, and I try to explain the origins of Greek religion, for most people, even in Greece, who are now mainly Greek Orthodox Christian, that's the main religion there, that's not controversial. If I was to, let's say, debate if Jesus actually existed, that is very whoa, right? Okay? And here's the difficulty, as that to take the historical approach, everything gets to be considered whether or not like that it meshes up with what historian standards would be. But what I want you to understand too is that I have my own set of beliefs that you are not going to know about. And I've become very comfortable with being able to study a wide range of things, learning about what the main consensus point of view is, and still actually having my own point of view. So I would like you to try to practice that with us and realize that I am wanting you to get an education about how the secular world understands things. So it's not even just learning about what people believe in other cultures, but how modern historians believe these cultures have developed. And so you're just learning about what that belief is, or that understanding from the field that I teach. And you can do whatever you want in terms of what you believe, and you can conceptualize the world. I start off with covering the topic of evolution. Big controversial thing. Many students in the past, would want to just drop out of this class that don't believe in it. I am aware of the sensitivity of this topic. I grew up in a very religious household. Both sides of my family are. I have clergy, Catholic clergy, and Baptist ministers in my family. And like I said, my own upbringing is complex, and my own current views are complex. But what I'm trying to show you is, so for example, when we talk about the origins of humanity, the origins of world civilization, where do I start? I can start with Genesis in the beginning. Bereshit, bara, in the beginning, created, right? Elohim, God. Well, that's Jewish and the Christian tradition. Muslims could agree with that part. but now I'm promoting one particular point of religion. I could talk about the Hindu concept, something from the Rig Vedas. Okay, with that, but so where do I start? What do we start with? This class, the textbook, starts with the scientific point of view about the origins of humanity. The scientific point of view about the origins of humanity does not sit well with many of a more fundamentalist point of view, as it's called, or a more traditionalist, maybe even a better word, religious point of view about the origins of humanity. Many religious people now believe that they're comfortable with the concept of evolution, but the idea that humans have a common ancestry with apes or ape-like creature, that kind of thing really bothers people. Again, here's what I want to invite you to do. You are, like, when you're doing this assignment for this first portion of the class, you are not telling me that you agree with the scientific point of view. You are studying an understanding of how scientists perceive history. In other words, this is another worldview of understanding the development of world civilizations. Okay? So, some of you are very passionately pro-science. Some of you will see this and just roll your eyes. You'll be like, ugh. Okay? And again, what I'm trying to tell you is that I don't feel that you are not being asked to compromise your faith. You are not being asked to budge on that at all. But you can do this assignment and do it well, explaining, the information that you have about the scientific worldview of the origins of civilization. And then that's how I take the approach for my entire class. For the most part, I found that most of my students really enjoy this portion. They enjoy this exposure of information that they get. Some do tell me they find it a little bit jarring, but ultimately I just want to also say this. For most educated clergy, I'm talking about a rabbi, I'm talking about a Catholic priest, and I'm talking about even Protestant ministers and many even Islamic scholars who study theology and go and get degrees in that in higher institutions. They are exposed to everything that we've covered. In other words, most of them will have an understanding of the topics that I'm talking about. And they're still religious leaders, is my whole point, right? Okay? So, at the same time, some of you, it is going to disrupt your faith. I'm not trying to, the point of this class is not try to get involved with that, okay? My point is we're learning about the world, and I'm going to talk about world history through the lens of how people have perceived the process of the world through concepts of the supernatural and divine and so forth. I happen to really, really enjoy this topic, and I want you to be able to enjoy it. So not just to feel threatened or uncomfortable, but to really embrace it. And I want you to call me if you have any questions or any problems, anything like that. Okay? I also want to keep the discussions respectful. So I believe in free speech, but I also believe in decorum, being respectful. Now, I just want to say that generally this has been no problem at all. I had one student of one religion, it was not a mainstream Christian religion. She said something in a discussion, and I saw that it would actually be offensive to some of my other students. And I wrote to her and I said, I don't know if you're aware that what you said might offend some people of their faith, the way that you said it. And she said, "Oh, Mr. Pollock, I'm so sorry." And she went back and she apologized to everybody and clarified, and then everybody said, "Thank you for writing back and apologizing, and I appreciate it." And it's not about people being overly sensitive or me being cracking some. I guess what I want to say is that as a general rule, I want all my students to feel safe that this is a place that you can speak freely, but you also are respecting the human dignity of your classmates. And I will be the ultimate one that decides that. And you may or may not agree with my conclusions, but that's what I'm going to do. And it's not going to be based on whether you're saying something that I agree with, but if I think that that's been in violation at all. Okay? So, as a general rule, that's really not been a big problem for me. But I always want to make that really clear to all of you. What else did I want to say? so in terms of the workloads, I want you to just know that I've been a single father most of my grown-up life. My daughter's 19 now, and she might be moving out, so I'm kind of in a different phase of my life, but I understand what it's like to be a parent and a single parent. And I also work another job, and I understand what it's like to work and go to school, to take on 2 jobs, try to raise a family, have a life, a love life in the middle of that. I try to make sure I have time for my girlfriend now. This is the and friends. Oh yeah, those. So this balance is very difficult. It's why many of you are taking online class. I understand these things, but you need to communicate with me. Ultimately, if you stop doing your work and you don't show up for some time, I'm going to have a harder time sympathizing with some story later on. Communicate with me though. I'm very workable, okay? You just need to be putting in your effort. And so I'm not going to just outright say what I will or will not accept or arrange with you. But what I'm saying is call your professor. I'm accessible. I understand things. And if you want to make the effort to thrive in this class, I will be an advocate for you to do that, okay? So I'm here to try to help give you good education and to help you succeed within your education, okay? And so I hope that that's clear. You guys have a great day and week, and we'll be in touch. And welcome again to the class. Let's get started.